Bonjour, peeps. Hi, this is Neshi Lilkatz. Welcome to Star Nation's organization's main fan page, where we do this live stream just about every morning, sometimes in the afternoon. And this is all about the card draw for the day, the energy that's important for us to know for today. Yeah. So good morning, everybody. It's Friday morning here in Tomah, Wisconsin. And it's somewhat of a beautiful day. I mean, it's cloud cover a little bit, and we're in a balmy 68 degrees. Our high is supposed to be in the mid 60s. So it's going to be a beautiful day, I think. Yeah, why not? And Stephanie's here. Yay. Thank you, Stephanie, for being here. And Elise is here. And if Mary Ann's watching, good morning to you too, Mary Ann. And Margaret's here. Yay. Oh, good. Elise, that sounds good. She says, hey, girl, I'm back and my food is refrozen. Yay. Good one. Good one. You know, those times when we have had power outages and, you know, we have two freezers, or did at the time. And so I know, because you're going, oh my God, what am I going to do with all this food? And, you know, yeah, I know what you mean. But you made it through. You made it through and you got your food refrozen, and it's good to know. Good morning, Stephanie and Margaret. Yeah, today's Friday. You know, for those people who still get that feeling of TGIF, because I'm one of them, doesn't matter. You know, it's the feeling behind it, right? It's the approach to the weekend. And even though just about every day is pretty much the same here, you know, it make people laugh when I say that in the mornings. When I wake up, try to figure out which day it is, and really, it's based on what Mom has for breakfast. It's like, what day is it? Oh, it's oatmeal day. That means it's Wednesday or Friday. Oh, it's Friday. Yay! But you know, yeah, that's how things are all around here. I just go with it. Why not? Because really. Does it matter the label of the day? That's what I tell myself anyway. Does it really matter? Other than having a meeting or, you know, a business telephone call, the shows, of course, those kinds of things, you know, yeah, the day does matter. But generally speaking, it could be Saturday today and I'd still have the same feeling. Yeah. Lisa's saying we have huge trees completely uprooted. Oh my gosh. So you definitely had a tornado go through, or was it a straight line wind? It sounds like a tornado if it's uprooting trees. Yeah. Yeah. You know, it actually got quite cool here after those storms, that last one rolled through. Our high the other day was, I think, 68 in August. You know, that's nearly unheard of. For us here in Wisconsin, it's usually like really, really hot and humid for the month of August. But yeah, it's different. And who says there's not climate change, huh? Who doesn't believe in that? All you have to do is go and look outside, be a little observant, right? So, hey, what we got today in the card energy really made me stop in my tracks and sit down and spend a little bit more time with my spiritual team to find out some information. And I want to show you this first card because it's very interesting. There's so much going on in this card. It's called Transmutation. Transmutation. And it's about dynamic change. I'll get the camera to focus. It's about dynamic change. When I was reading the information from the author Francine Hart, I had my highlighter out and I realized I'm going to be highlighting everything on this page. So I just wrote on the page, very important, and the date. Elise, yes. Saturday, I am becoming a furry puppy mom, four-legged mom. George will go and get him just before lunch. So I don't know if I'm going to do a live stream tomorrow morning. There might be lots of things going on that I have to take care of before we go get him. So we may end up doing an afternoon live stream. And if I do that, you guys get to see him. So that's where I'm leaning toward anyway, rather than doing a morning live stream. So we can introduce you to George, the baby. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking anyway. So anyway, with this card, Transmutation, it's about dynamic change. And, if you look at the image of this, there is just so much going on, right? And when I was reading the information, like I said, I was going to highlight, the things that jumped out at me that seemed important for today. And what I ended up doing was just writing very important and the date on the page because I realized I'd be highlighting just about everything on the page. Yeah, we joke around about that stuff, but sometimes it's true. Francine writes that the card reflects multiples of six-sided geometry. It is space, power, time, transmuted by consciousness. That's why it looks so full, so intensely busy, dynamic change. She says that it represents the energy forms of fire, lightning, nuclear, and solar, all active and dynamic, but transmuting form to something very new. Transmuting form to something very new. Yeah. It's huge. It's huge energy there. Rochelle is saying, hello, watching John McCain's funeral. I was watching there. I will catch the archives. Okay, will do. Mom's doing the same thing. I dropped off her mid-morning snack, and she was very, very much absorbed in the funeral procession. And she says, I also need prayers and have another toothache. We'll send you some good energy there, Rochelle. What kind of baby am I getting? George is a mix. His mother is golden retriever because Paul and I, we've had a golden retriever before and we really wanted one again. And her father is a yellow lab, and the mix was intentional. I think they're called Goldador, something like that. And so yeah, that's what he is. He's a mix, and he's cute. Yesterday we tried to figure out because we got his first vet appointment on next week Friday, and yeah, he's 8 pounds. We had to find out from the owner of his mother, Dancing Moon, or is it Moon Dancer? I can't remember. Anyway, George is 8 pounds, so he's just a little guy. He's just little. All right. So the card suggests that there's a dynamic change at work in your life. A dynamic change at work in your life. This change is beyond what you have experienced before and promises to transmute the very core of your being into someone you might not recognize from your present perspective. That sentence is huge. And when I ask my team, before we draw cards, the intention is to show me the energy that's most important for us to know about today for the highest good. And when, remember my intention, and when I read that sentence, I literally stopped and went, not again. I mean, because I just finished up like a year and a half, right, of intense change. And I had to stop for a minute and take some deep breaths, get grounded, get centered, and then talk to my spiritual team and say, explain this one to me. I need more information. I need some clarity because just reading that sentence made me stutter, right? And because of what I went through in 2017. And so I had a nice discussion with my spiritual team about it. And basically, it's about, for me, It's about the integration that I'm still going through with all the changes that occurred to me in 2017 and the energy shifts and that sort of thing. Um, and when they wanted me to focus in on the emotion of what I was feeling in that moment. And the emotion was sadness, and it kind of surprised me a bit, sadness. And I wanted to know, I wanted to know what that was about and what the root was so that I can do what I need to do to heal that piece, that sadness, and transmute it, right? Transmute it into um, peace or joy, the opposite of sadness, happiness, right? And so, really, what I was shown was it's grief. It's grief for those parts of my life that changed from last year and the people that went with that change. It's still a layer of grief and being reminded that grief is not a negative thing. It's not what we might term as bad. It's a process. Is to honor the process and to allow the feelings to flow. Is don't repress them, don't ignore them. Is to acknowledge them, and once we acknowledge them, we begin the healing process. And so it's like, okay, well, I can do that. I can understand that. And what do I need to do to help the process along other than being in the flow? And basically it is being aware of my thoughts and my feelings when they occur, and not to negate them, right? And so I was able to take a deep breath. At that point, it's like, okay, I can do that. I can do that. So this is just a part of the process of integration. And the dynamic change for today's energy is really reminding me that the change that is occurring, there's always a positive and uplifting side of it. That's where our soul growth is. When it makes us feel joyful, right? Sometimes in the actual being in it is not joyful, it's not comfortable, but we're being stretched and to learn that next lesson and to be who we really are. And that's really is the bottom line. Because I was asking them about the transmutation part of this card, the fire, all of that energy, the lightning and the fire and the nuclear, the sun. What is that all about? And they were telling me that within the transmutation, the fire is burning through all those layers of facade, and we all have them. Nobody gets out of that one. We all have those masks, those layers of what we think other people want. We want them to see, right? And so the transmutation, the fire, the electricity, the lightning, that they're burning through those layers of the facade. And I said, it can be gentle, right? It can be graceful. And of course it can be if we allow it to be. And allowing our true selves to be present, rather than being covered up. And I thought to myself, wow, that no wonder why it felt big when I looked at that card when I first drew it, and I thought, this is some big energy here. We're in for a ride with this one. And so I had to literally stop in the middle of my reading in order to understand, because it was a bit of a shock. It's like, oh my God, I don't want to experience that again. I really don't. It was because it was hard. Um, and that's not the case, really. For me, it's not the case. You need to, for yourself, tune into it and see where this energy about the transmutation, the dynamic change, is occurring in your own life. In your own life. Because we sense it long before it actually comes into the physical world, right? We sense it. A lot of times you're like this about it. I don't want to look over there. I don't want to pay attention to that. But the signs are all there if we listen. If we turn to our spiritual team and ask them for assistance. Hey, Cindy Lynn, good morning to you. And Jocelyn's here too. Good morning to you too, Jocelyn. And we're talking about, this is the first card that was drawn this morning. It's called Transmutation. It's about dynamic change. Dynamic change. And I was sharing with everyone about the one sentence here. It says this card suggests that there's a dynamic change at work in your life. This change is beyond what you have experienced before and promises to transmute the very core of your being into someone you might not recognize from your present perspective. Yeah. So we need to do some self-investigation, right? We have to sit down and say, okay, what is in my life right now that is transmuting? What's changing? What's shifting? She says, when time and space are viewed as holographic rather than linear, or as the Hopi tradition believed, as a river on which one can travel forward and backward, it becomes clear that any event has more than one possible outcome. That's quantum physics. Oh, that's holographic. I'm sorry, that's holographic. Quantum physics tells us that the observer affects the outcome of the experiment. And then there's the metaphysical side of things. And that is, that further suggests that our intentions we create are our own future. So all views indicate that we as individuals have an effect on the holographic nature of reality. Once we realize this and learn to utilize this function of intention, you have a responsibility for not only the consequences of your behaviors, but also the consequences of your thoughts. There it is. There's the key. Not just our behaviors, but our thoughts. You're a very powerful being of intention. Pay attention to all your thoughts and transmute the ones that trouble you or cause you fear. By transmuting fear, we're helping to usher in unity consciousness, heart connection, and compassion. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So when I had that shocking gasp when I read that sentence, I asked my team, once I finished reading the whole thing, I asked my team to assist me in deleting that thought that I had about that particular sentence and to replace it with a more positive thought of, yay, I'm becoming more me, the more authentic me, and to embrace that in a positive way. Yep. Yeah. And so, I think that's the human part of us, that when we think about those possibilities of change, and what did she say? She says that promises to transmute the very core of your being into someone you might not recognize from your present perspective. And so our mental mind, our human mind, goes to all the possibilities of chaos, right? And the negative sides of things. And really, we have to be careful and be aware of our thoughts and our behaviors. because both have consequences. And honestly, it's so much easier to be aware of it and to catch them and delete them, transmute them into a thought or an action that has a higher vibration. Ouch. And some of that, might be correct, and some of that has much to do with our own self-discipline, right? That we actually are consciously aware of our actions and our thoughts, rather than kind of in the maturity of things, when we say things or think it and then say it out loud without giving it much thought. Some of the things that we say can be hurtful to another person, or hurtful to ourselves. The negative self-talk, right? Yeah. So this one made me stop in my tracks and do a little of my own work this morning in the moment, and to really be aware of that thought that I had. It's almost like a PTSD thing, and so to be able to catch that and to feel the feelings, the emotions around it, and to investigate it. Why is there a sadness attached to this? Where does that come from? I would like to see it at the root. I would like to see this so that I can heal it. I can learn from it, right? And so I had a discussion with my spiritual team about it. And so now do I feel completely comfortable with it? It's getting there. I'm breathing through it. I'm not ignoring it. I'm not ruminating about it either, because I know I trust my team so much. I trust them that they will show me the next best step when I ask for it. Right? So, and I asked for it this morning. So now I just have to relax into that and say, okay, it's here and let's deal with it. Let's do the best we can in transmuting that. Yeah. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? What do you think about that transmutation? And really, what my team told me about all of that energy of the fire and the lightning and the nuclear and the sun is really about burning through the facades, the layers of facade. Yeah. So that we get down to our core, who we really are, who we were meant to be here. Yeah. And even when I say that, I get kind of yay, because my intention at the winter solstice in December, Paul and I did a solstice fire, and when I stated my intention out loud, it was, I want to experience using 100% of my gifts in a kind and generous and graceful way, a positive way. Yeah. And so in order to do that, I know that there's aspects that have to be healed. There's aspects that need to be clutter cleared. So, that's the work that I began in 2017, actually 2016, middle of. And so, I made that conscious decision. And so I think I not just do I think it, I believe that this is the integration piece is also about allowing that change to occur for me, right? And so it's individual. It's an energy that is flowing today, and we can embrace it, right? We can tap into the energy of it. And remember, this first card, Francine, we put designed the layout that the first card goes on the right-hand side of the layout, and we bring it in the information in a balanced way through the male aspect. So our thinking, our logic, rational thought, our mind, our brain, and grandfather sky. And so just taking it in, right? Just taking it in. So the second card that came, I gotta get something to weight it down. There we go. Is this one. It's called Morning Meeting. Morning Meeting. And it's about communication. I'm going to let you take in this image. Now, hopefully the camera is clear enough for you. There's an owl in the upper branches there. There's a rabbit down below. Trees with their branches intertwining, right? And we have, it's kind of in a ghost effect here, is male, female, embraced. You got trees in the background, and right in the center, right here, you see a square kind of on its side. Looks like a diamond. And there's a circle within that diamond. And then there's a larger diamond or square on its side. And then on the outside of that is a larger circle. Do you see that? Yeah. There is, it's about communication. Communication. And, you know, when you look at these two cards side by side, you can see that this one, the one with the nuclear, is very masculine compared to the other, don't you think? And the second card, this one, goes on the left-hand side of the card draw that represents the feminine energy, our heart, our intuition, our feelings and emotions, and Grandmother Earth. And so I think, wow. All right, so Francine Hart, when she designed this deck, she designed it in a way that we get these two cards, and we bring them into our vibrational field in a balanced way, in a whole way, WHOLE, holistically. And so we're able to bring in the information about the energy for today in its wholeness. And it's taken in by all of the aspects of our bodies, our senses. Yeah. Rochelle says she's back. Well, that was a short one, huh? And the second card, Morning Meeting, is about communication. Communication. Francine writes that this card incorporates the elements of nature and the woods. It also conveys the possibility that we as human beings can learn to live and love in balance and communicate with respect and tenderness. The geometry here is a square representing male energy and the circle representing the female energy. The card asks that we view the way that we communicate both with others and with ourselves. So to take the opportunity today to observe the way you communicate, discover a balance of give and take based on openness and respect. It may bring you closer to knowing yourself and to communicating with others. Okay. So with this card about communication, I really do think that it has to do with how we communicate with it to ourselves, that conversation that we have with ourselves, but also the conversation we have with our spiritual team. Because this card was about dynamic change. In order to do dynamic change, we really have to be in communication with our spiritual team. You might say it's essential because of the kind of change that could be occurring. We need help. We can't do it by ourselves, that's for sure. So it's in communication. And communication, by definition, right, is a dialogue. It is speaking and listening in turn with another. And that we actually slow down and be with them, attentive to what they're saying. Instead of our mental mind racing ahead and forming the next question or questions, or racing ahead to gather information for a resolution, an answer of some sort. And so we're not really listening to what they're saying. We're listening to ourselves on the inside about that dialogue we have with ourselves about when we're creating that question, or when we're searching our memory banks for a solution or resolution to offer to this other person, rather than listening to them. And so I believe that this particular card is about that communication, that dialogue. I don't know, it kind of made sense to me. It made sense to me. And as a side note about geometry, sacred geometry, and how it's there's so much study with it, right? And many years ago, there was a notice. Something that was happening with the sacred geometry is that you always have two images of the same thing. So here we have the image of the square and the circle, right? And we have two squares. We have the larger square on the outside and the smaller square on the inside. See that? Larger square, smaller square. And we also have the larger circle, and inside we have the smaller circle. No? That's about balance. That's about the male and female energies again. Because generally speaking, the male of any, I was going to say species, the male is generally larger, and the female is generally smaller or slightly smaller. And so when you have the geometry being shown in that way, that's about balance. It's balancing the male and female energies. Yeah. I don't know. That's just a little tip. When you're looking at sacred geometry images and you see the larger, and those are usually the easier ones to see, is the larger image. But if you look closely on the inside of the larger image is a replica of it in a smaller image. Right? Yeah. So the next time you look at an image, a sacred geometry image, and you see a larger, let's say it is the square, look on the inside and you'll see the smaller square on the inside. It's about balance. Oh my gosh. I have this client in Milwaukee that sometimes she forgets that I'm doing a morning live stream. Yeah, and she tries to get a hold of me. So these two images is about the energy flowing today, and it's about change. It's about dynamic change and having communication, all about it, and making sure that we have that communication with our spiritual team, and even with those that are closest to us, our inner circle, is to sit down and have a heart-to-heart discussion about the changes that are occurring in your life. And the dynamic change is about about burning through all of the facades and getting down to the core, the real you, the real you. And when we do that, we have our own inner work to do, right? We have our own healing stuff to do, to learn our lessons and to take that lesson and build our wisdom with it in our authentic self, authentic self. So we're getting closer and closer to that vibrational, that frequency that we came in to this physical existence with. Our original song. Yeah. And when I say it like that, I can smile about that. I get that. Interesting stuff. So, how do you guys feel about that? Are you going through a significant change? Are you experiencing something like that? Or are you like me that you've come out of it, but you're in the integration phase, the integration of that dynamic change? And when I say that, for those of us who've been through it, yeah. Yeah, there's no denying. There's no denying that it rocked your world and you were taken down to your core. There's no denying it. And to be able to integrate all of the shifts and changes and the gifts that came with that. So I'll give you a few minutes to reply to that question. So with anything that you've heard here today about the energy flowing that's important for us to know about, take what resonated with you, pick it up and embrace it. Yeah, this is a big one. This is a big one. So when you embrace it, watch how your day unfolds, the energy, and see where you're a participant in that energy flow and where you are a witness. Because like I say, we're always learning. Either is good because we're always learning in both of those fields. But if it didn't resonate with you, that's okay too. You can set it aside. It's possible we were planting seeds or you're a messenger. There may be someone in your life that has been searching for this information, or they're just searching for understanding of what they're going through. And you can share it with them, right? Be helpful. Be helpful. Cindy Lynn is saying going through both in different areas. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. But and I know this, what I'm going to say next. Some might take it as that's too easy to say. That's easier said than done, right? There's few things that I know for sure, and this is one of them, is that we don't go through anything unless we're truly ready for it. It's a blessing from the Creator that we're only given things that we can handle in the vibration that we are right now, right? So what makes it difficult and hard is ourselves, is when we resist, when we dig our heels and say, I don't want to change. I'm not changing. I like things just the way they are. That was me. And then when we get to the surrender part, and we're more in the flow, it eases up and we can actually breathe through it and actually say, oh, that's why that happened. Okay. And we can hear our guides and our teachers and, those in our spiritual team so much better because we're not as tight. We're not as tight. Yeah. So it's easier said than done, but to keep in mind and heart that we're never given anything that we're not prepared to be able to do. So there must be some aspects of you Cindy Lynn, that are vibrating at a rate that is capable of going through what you're going through. Yeah, like I said, there's very few things I know for sure, but that's one of them. That is one of them. And I think that there's more of a religious quote to that, and I'm trying to remember it. If somebody can help me with it, it has something to do with, well, God will only give you, well, it has something to do with, will only make you stronger. What won't kill you will only make you stronger. Something like that, which is kind of true. We're tempered in steel, Cindy Lynn. We're tempered in to be steel. Yes. Rochelle says, I want to change regarding my health. So tired of being sick. I want to focus on the positives of my body. Well, that's a step in the right direction. Changing your thoughts about that. Yeah. You know, there is some of it, I wouldn't say all of it, but there is an aspect of our health, our physical health, that we take from us, our society and our family. You know, the belief that when you reach a certain age, you're going to start having pain. Yeah. Or just because my mom has a heart condition, that I'm going to have a heart condition. You know, I I believe that I have a happy heart. I have a healthy heart. I've done a lot of work to heal aspects of my heart, and whereas my mom has a broken heart. Yep. She has a pacemaker. She had heart failure years ago, but that was a broken heart, right? And so, yeah. So you have to look at your belief systems too, not just at your physical body, but at your mental body and the thoughts, and actually about your belief systems too. Yeah, go through them. What's the truth for you now, and what's not? And what's not, how do you get rid of a belief system? You stop thinking about it. You stop agreeing to it and replace it with something more positive, right? That's just a nutshell kind of thing. And, how do you pronounce that, Rochelle? It was a psychologist, right? Um, Yetzi? Yeah. And she says, I have had trouble with my body all my life. All right. So just with that, Rochelle, just that one sentence right there. Yeah. You can delete that sentence. You can delete that thought and replace it with a more positive thought. Look how strong my body and all my bodies are. It's gotten me through so much. It's gotten me through so much, and I love and care for my body. Hmm. Change that sentence. Change that thought. I know some of it is self-discipline, and others is that really is to be consciously aware of what your thoughts are and what we say. That's what that card about communication was about, and also the dynamic change. Is that we have to be really consciously aware of what our thoughts are creating. It's just not our behavior, it's our thoughts that are creating. And what happens is our emotional body gets behind those thoughts, because you can feel how intense the emotion is carrying that one sentence, Rochelle. And it's being aware of it, because the emotion is what is the fuel to bring that into the physical world, right? You're the creator of that. And when we think of ourselves as creators, man, that there's a lot of excitement behind that, because we can create the kind of world that we want to live in. Um, and how do we do that? With our thoughts and with our actions, our behavior. Oh, we can turn this around. Nietzsche, that's it. Thank you, Rochelle, for reminding me how to pronounce his name, Nietzsche. Thank you. Um, she says, "Yeah, yes, I've been doing my best to change my thoughts." Good. That's excellent. That's excellent. That's a huge step in the right direction, because there's so many people who are not aware of their thoughts and what they say out loud. A lot of them. We have somebody sitting in the Oval Office that way. Yep, we do. And and that is the beginning of our awareness, Rochelle, is that we recognize it. We say, okay, we're going to change that, and we catch it. And the more often we are aware and change, delete that sentence, replace that thought with something else, more positive. The more often we do it, the easier it becomes that we are reducing the number of times that we have to do that in a given day. It's changing. Maybe that's your dynamic change, Rochelle. Maybe that's your dynamic change. Could be. You'll have to check in with your spiritual team and get more information about that. Hey, Cindy Lynn is saying, me too, Rochelle. Yeah. Yep, exactly. And I still do it. My goodness. I did it 3 times this morning. 3 times this morning. In fact, I stopped. It was very early. It was like around 6. I literally stopped. I was trying to get breakfast going. I literally stopped and said, all right, I need to change this attitude. This frequency, this vibration is not what's going in my mother's food. So I gave myself an attitude adjustment, deleted some thoughts, replaced them with more positive thoughts. I love morning. There's an energy in the morning that is hopeful, and it's crisp, you know. Even though I'm physically tired, I can appreciate the beauty of the morning. That's a more positive way to feel it, to express it, than to have, oh my God, it's morning again. And so, it's those things. It's those things. Yes, having healthy teeth and gums. I have a beautiful smile. I am so grateful. I am so grateful that I have my own teeth yet, right? I'm so grateful that we have really great dentistry now. At the turn of the century, compared to what we have now, night and day. And so we have great dentistry. We have dentists that are compassionate now. We have dentists who really do listen to their patients and help them work through their fears of the dentist, right? Yep. So it's all about self-discipline, really. Some of it is. Boils down to us. Dang, you can't blame it on somebody else. You can't say, yeah, but. Um, I had a brother that used to say, whenever, because that was a good, especially when you're a kid, yeah, but. And he says, there's a lot of Easter yabbits. So whenever I say that, I think of my brother. He passed away when he was 51. But anyway, yeah, no excuses. No excuses. Self-discipline. Love yourself. Love yourself. We all work on that, don't we? In different aspects. So with that, enjoy the rest of your Friday, and just watch how the energy of the day unfolds for you, and where this information that we shared this morning, where does that fit for you today? Yeah. Self-awareness, right? Okay. Well, we'll see you probably tomorrow afternoon, okay, for the daily card draw live stream, 2 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. And I'll have George with me. I'll introduce you to George, okay? All right. I'll see you then. Bama Mina, until we see each other again. And I love you guys. Enjoy your day.